Hi, everybody. This is Elektra Yao, immigration attorney located here in New York. We have offices in New York and New Jersey. We work with clients all throughout the United States and abroad. And today I wanted to talk to you about my experience to update everybody on the interview process for an I-751 abuse waiver interview. So, if you are in a marriage to a U.S. citizen and there is a breakdown in that marriage due to any sort of control or abuse, you can still file for your removal of conditions so that you can get your permanent green card. Usually, if the marriage is still intact, you can file it jointly. Or if the marriage is not intact due to abuse or extreme hardship or cruelty, you can file that I-751 on your own, so without the U.S. citizen spouse. Now, I-751s, if they have really strong marriages, right? So usually a couple of kids, maybe you own together, maybe you rent together. Usually those interviews for the I-751, those are waived, and they can be waived at the discretion of the officer. So when you are filing alone, therefore without the U.S. citizen spouse, you will always most likely get an interview. The reason why you get an interview is because the officer needs to verify the bona fides of the marriage, so the truthfulness of your marriage, and the officer also needs to review the abuse that's alleged. So you will have to present a copy of your petition along with the original document. So the original marriage certificate, the original divorce decree, any police reports that have been filed, any temporary restraining orders that have been filed. So that's basically what happens, or what you're supposed to present at the interview. Now, today I attended the interview with my client. My client is a Peruvian man who was abused by his U.S. citizen spouse. The abuse that my client suffered was extreme humiliation, threatening to get him deported by ICE, kicking him out of the house multiple times, controlling the money, not allowing him to see the bills. All of this abuse was properly documented by my client. My client had filed multiple police reports explaining the situation to the officers, the threatening, the humiliation, the wanting to kick the client out, wanting to control the money of my client. And eventually the abuse got so bad because the U.S. citizen spouse would start to stalk him and scream at him and yell profanities at him in public, that my client filed a restraining order. Now, we attended the interview. My client is not an English speaker. You can request a translator or an interpreter at the field office where you have your interview. And the officer will interview you and ask you for the bona fides of your marriage, so the proof of the marriage. The officer will also ask him for the proof of the abuse. Once the officer looked at the evidence, the officer asked the client several questions, obviously, which were translated by the interpreter, about how he met his wife, or how was their marriage before the abuse, and what sort of abuse was undertaken, and how did the client feel about the abuse. So all of these are the types of questions that will be asked at the interview. It is highly recommended to work with an attorney who will prepare the petition and tell your unique story, so that once the officer is looking at your brief, the officer will understand exactly what has happened in your life and in your marriage, so that you can have a successful outcome. So again, this is basically an I-751 abuse waiver that was filed and that had its interview today, and we were recommended for approval. So my client will now be able to continue to live his life peacefully without the abuse of his U.S. citizen spouse. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow with another story. Bye-bye.